With a $5 meal deal with new McValue. You pick a McDouble or a McChicken, then get a small fry, a small drink, and a 4-piece McNuggets. That's a lot of McDonald's for not a lot of money.
Prices and participation may vary. McDouble meal $6 in some markets for a limited time only.
No matter how you travel, it's good to have a plan. Some people plan every minute. No sleep, bus, museum, another museum. While others only plan to take it day by day. When it comes to your finances, a plan is just as important. You can count on Credit Karma to give you the insights you need to understand your options so you can take charge of your financial path and find your way to money. Explore how you can make financial progress with confidence today. Intuit Credit Karma. Karma you can count on.
This is a HeadGum podcast.
You got mail.
Hello, everyone. Millie here. And this week we had some pretty unexpected personal things pop up, and we decided, you know what, let's take the week off. So this week we're going to be unlocking a Patreon episode that I researched on the tragic figure of Remi Bader. It's crazy. It takes a lot of twists and turns. And we'll be back next week with an awesome guest. Buy tickets to our tea party. It's going to be so much fun. The guest list is popping. The menu is going to be fire. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We love you guys so much, and we'll see you next week. Welcome to Go Touch Grass. Oh, man. It did
Guys,
feel
we're
weird
recording virtually.
Yes, I know. I'm back from Canada. It did feel weird to hear Go Touch Grass and not hear my voice in it. And then also I was tempted to what are they going to talk about? What's going on? But I'm like, no. I almost looked at the outline, but I'm like, no, Millie, it's good to be surprised.
Well, as I said, I was like, I was conflicted about talking about Bathhouse without you, but you know, the internet the internet never sleeps.
I feel like it was probably better. I'll address my thoughts on the main pod,
pre-feed, yeah.
But
no, that's
it's
important.
probably you guys entered in with some really objective. I am biased because I've been there over a million times. But you guys entered with some objectivity that wouldn't have been possible had I reported. But it's okay because this isn't the New York Times. This is Go Touch Grass, so we can be biased if we want to.
Exactly. But I had I missed you so much while you were away, but I did get to watch Tino. He came to stay at my house. It was wonderful.
He loves the treats you gave him.
Oh,
He's
those
going
weird
crazy
treats.
over those treats.
He's really liking those. We had a great time. I will say that after he left, Biz, my cat, got up on me and meowed in my face in such a loud way that I was like, whatever she said, that was a slur. I don't know what.
She's like, don't you ever bring a dog.
I don't know who that man was.
Yeah, you said she went on a hunger strike.
In my face.
Oh my god,
she did go on hunger strike, and she went on shit strike, which was scarier. She didn't shit for 2 days. I was like, what do I do? But then eventually she did cave and she shit, because at a certain point you just have to shit.
Yeah, that was me in fucking Vancouver for the first 4 days. I was not shit. I don't know what.
Can't shit on vacation. It's hard.
It's hard, but I was drinking coffee no one's, it was going to happen. It was going to happen sooner or later, and then it happened a lot. Or it could be like Mexico, where you're just constantly shitting all the time. Well, speaking of shit.
Yeah, I was speaking of gastrointestinal stuff.
We have Remi Bader. Oh, boy. We're doing Remi Bader, and this just so complicated and interesting in so many ways. This figure we have, Remi Bader, brings up a lot of stuff. And so it was just too much to do in a discourse. It certainly needed its own episode. And I'm just going to say trigger warning for eating disorder, suicidal ideation, and fat shaming, I guess. I don't even know.
Yeah, I mean, it's a conversation about bodies, body sizes, weight, dieting, etc. So if that is a sensitive subject for you, just know that's like what this episode is about.
Gonna be. Yeah. So let's talk about Remi. So Remi Bader is an influencer. She's New York based. She currently has 2.2 million followers on TikTok and about 837,000 followers on Instagram. She's 30 years old. The main thing to know about her is that she went viral in 2020 for posting realistic hauls. Like she would put, I think during 2020, everyone was posting, like everyone was online shopping and posting like fashion hauls. This is from an article. So Bader built a following doing something most people hate, trying on clothes, but she was having fun with it. Her early TikToks consisted mainly of what she coined realistic hauls, bits where Bader sported outfits from retailers like Anthropologie or Zara, poking fun at models and how the trendy fillets fit on her plus-size body, and people loved it. And then, Bader would try on these clothing, demonstrating how awkwardly they fit her body compared to the models on the websites. These funny, personable, if not entirely original videos propelled her to millions of followers and a profitable but precarious level of fame, the parasocial BFF. So, again, that's how she went viral. She would post how these things looked on her. She would show what it looks like on the site, show what it looks like on her body. She would also show like how to recreate looks that celebrities would wear, like but on a plus size body. Like Selena Gomez, like she would do that. She would always say like, I'm a 14, 16 and I'm going to show you. Like it was like at the forefront. I think like honestly, the best kind of summary that I got about like her content, her vibe, because I was like, oh, maybe we could like talk about her content, like watch a piece of her original content and then like talk about it. But I feel like this Today Show Hoda and Jenny like package that they made on her is kind of like the best way because she talks about it. It's not just like because her a lot of her content is just like, look at this, it's awkward and stuff. But I feel like this package kind of gets more into the community she built around it. So let's go ahead and watch this.
We love this because it just accentuates the waist right here. And the shoulder pads are the best part of it all.
No, this is actually very cute.
Sometimes the clothing we shop for fits great.
This shirt is so cute.
But other times it doesn't. And no one knows this better than 26-year-old New Yorker Remi Bader.
Please. There was one day that I specifically remember this past year where I went into about 15 different stores in Soho and not one of those stores had above a size 10 or 12.
Remi has turned trying on clothes into social media stardom, amassing 1.4 million TikTok followers, thanks to videos she calls realistic clothing hauls.
For this skirt, it actually fits perfectly around one thigh. First of all, the floral dress, the flannel.
But before her post made her one of the most followed creators on TikTok, Remi was struggling.
Last July, you were let go from your job.
That was very difficult for me. My sister and my dad were working every day and on calls, and I'm sitting in my room doing nothing.
Let's take it to when Remi met TikTok.
My sister, who's 2 years older, was like coming in my room every day and was like, please film dances with me. I was like, I'm not putting myself on camera. I look horrible. And then, one day in September, I got a package. I ordered multiple clothes and I tried on all of those clothes and not one thing fit me and looked like what it was supposed to look like on my body. You might be thinking, this isn't horrible. If only I could turn around. No one's putting the bad stuff on social media, no matter what the platform is. We're all showing what's good, what's beautiful, what's edited, and we're not showing the real stuff.
Just really happy that these jeans fit me perfectly.
Everyone knows that feeling of being in a dressing room and sort of having a breakdown because something's not fitting right. You are bringing that dressing room experience to TikTok.
It's very difficult for curvy women or plus size women to shop. And the clothes that we buy online, whether you're curvy, whether you're skinny, whether you're short or you're tall, will never look like the model on the website. And everyone is discouraged by it.
But Remi's honesty doesn't stop with her videos about fashion.
People might have come to your page in the beginning for those realistic clothing hauls, but they really stayed for your vulnerability and talking about your mental health struggles.
I remember the first video I did about being anxious and about mental health.
I've been suffering with horrible anxiety.
I was like, should I post this? Is this too weird? I'm still struggling with how I feel about my body. I can't not be honest about that. But it doesn't mean I'm gonna hide in my room, because last year at this time I was doing that. I didn't want to be seen by people because I was embarrassed about my size.
Remi's now a full-time social influencer. She has an agent, does sponsored content, and recently landed a campaign with Aerie. And it's all thanks to the connections she's cultivated with her followers.
There's no better feeling in the world, I think, than being able to change lives of others and help other people. And doing it without even meeting these people and through social media is what I think is so amazing.
Had a horrible morning. Was contemplating not getting out of my bed today.
I don't think people realize how they just think I'm there helping them, but they've turned my life around and helped me so much. And I don't just mean because of the fame aspect. I mean, I was in a really bad place a year ago right now. And from all of the positive comments, messages, followers, people calling me their bestie, those are the things that have boosted my confidence so much this year. I wish I could tell that younger Remi that it's literally all going to work out.
And she's helping a lot of younger people. We love that we get to share Remi's story during Mental Health Awareness Month. If you want more Remi, head to today.com for an essay I wrote on how she's changing the conversation about body image. And tomorrow, Remi and I will host an Instagram Live on our Hoda and Jenna page at
Okay.
So, thoughts?
Well, so the thing is, I've been aware of her content in general. I mean, I think that was a great way to like package not just the videos, but the vibe. And I feel like kind of as that package said, I think the thing that she really brought that was different was being on the forefront of this idea of like, even clothes that technically come in plus sizes, they're not being like sewn and fitted in a way that actually works for people who are, you said she's like a 14, 16. Like, okay, yeah, maybe this skirt comes in a 14, but when I put it on, it shows my ass because it's not actually like sewn properly for like a curvier body. So I feel like that was a big thing. And then I think that the other thing is just the like vulnerability aspect, because especially early TikTok was so much just like very pretty thin girls dancing.
Yeah. And again, she would also show, like, on top of what you said about, like, how it's not sewn properly, also sometimes, like, the material was so cheap that you could see through it and stuff like that. So, yeah, it was, again, like, it's thin, skinny, pretty girls dancing, but it's also, like, again, this quote-unquote, like, average girl. And I just really love the idea of, like, she's talking and being vulnerable about things you would only be vulnerable about with your closest friend. Like, I don't even think I would tell, like, I think like my close friends, I could like try on stuff about them and not be embarrassed, like in front of them and not be embarrassed and say like, I have this really tough mental health thing and not be embarrassed and stuff. So it's like, it is this parasocial relationship that she is cultivating with her fans due to sharing some incredibly vulnerable things.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I wanted to get that vibe. Like, I think this best encapsulates that vibe over like just a video where she's talking about like, oh, this doesn't fit me. I think it's more that thing that was so new and fresh with her. In 2023, so like we're going to be like jumping back and forth, But in 2023, she did an interview with People magazine, and people called Remi Bader the face of the body positivity movement. And Allure hailed her as, quote, TikTok's hero of plus size fashion. So again, not only was the fan saying this, it was like publications, and she, whatever.
And when they're talking about like, oh, she got to deal with Aerie and stuff, part of that was probably a push within Aerie to show like, we have clothes that fit all types of body types. Like, that's my guess would be that was one of the reasons why a brand like Aerie would want to work with her, because they're like, we want to show that we're size inclusive, that our stuff fits, that it looks good. So we're going to work with this, like, quote unquote, honest plus size influencer to create that kind of energy.
And like, it's interesting because she is very much like, even in the plus size community, she was always like a smaller plus size. She was, that's kind of a big other like argument with like in the plus size movement of like, she didn't have like a big stomach. She didn't have like visible stretch marks. She wasn't like walking around like, even at her biggest, whatever. I mean, this is getting to the granular stuff, but like, there is something to be said about her being like plus size, but like still palatable. She's still like very feminine, white, curvy in the right places, like a bigger butt, like a smaller stomach. And it's all relative, but like there was something about that too of like, she still appeased like Western beauty standards in a lot of ways, but just enough to be a little different. I don't know. So there's that. So
yeah, no, I've seen that conversation play out online where, and again, it's not like to say that, like, again, she's still finding clothes that don't fit her and stuff. Like, it's not even a dig at her, but it is interesting to be like, this is a conversation we have with any marginalized type of group who's allowed to become famous. It's like when Black women were first allowed to be on TV and stuff, a lot of times it was light-skinned women with with European features, etc. She is, a size 14, 16, like she's a plus size woman, but her body shape, her features, etc., like allow her to be more palatable to a certain audience, whereas maybe someone who is curvy in a different way. I've seen a lot of talks about like, yeah, you can be plus sized, but like you still have kind of a flat belly, like you said. Like there's different body shapes within the plus size community get prioritized. So if you're like hourglass curvy, they're like, oh, amazing. But if you have a different type of shape, then you're not prioritized in the same way. So like, yeah, I've definitely seen that conversation play out online as well.
So that's kind of the conversation around Remi. And in May 2022, so it's about like a year, 2 years after she started going viral, she posted a video about how she's entering basically what you need to know too is like Remi, my understanding is she's comes from like a really wealthy family. Like kind of the thing is that like her family was always kind of trying to get her to lose weight. Like when she was 10, she'd be dieting. Somebody in her family is like, I'll give you $20, like I'll give you $100 if you lose 20 pounds. She was attending Weight Watchers as a kid. Like these things that deeply fuck you up. Like she was going through it. So in May 2022,
I'm sorry. It just like makes me, it's so bleak to me to imagine a child being like, well, this cookie that I had is 1 point. Like
it's just fucked up.
No.
And it's also like, but to these people, like it's way better. And I mean, I think that's like a huge thing of society. It's like, it's way better and more acceptable for you to have your 10-year-old thinking about cookie points than it is just to have a fat 10-year-old. And like, it's completely normal I don't know, like a lot of people are fat as a kid and they lose weight when they get older and like whatever. But it's like all this shit is just about how your family feels about, like, it's about how society treats you. I really think like so much like problems. It's the same thing with vaccinations and all this stuff of like, when you view your child as an extension of your family's quote unquote brand and not this like individual person who just exists, then you're overly concerned with how other people perceive them and like how they this and that. And if they are flawed, that means you are flawed and this, and it's just this conversation that even I was I love this podcast called This Is Uncomfortable, and it talks about like how money ties to everything, but like in Korea, how like having a daughter that's ugly, like even now, like is a sign of like not, which it's not that far off from how we used to be, but like the most important thing for your daughter as a representative of your family is to be pretty. So like the family will put, in Korea, South Korea specifically, they're obsessed with plastic surgery, all this stuff. And it's like the family will pull in money to get like eyelid surgery or chin surgery or just so their daughter looks pretty so that they are a good representative of the family. So that's what I was thinking when she was saying like all this shit about how her family talked about her weight. But in May 2022, Remi posted a video about how she's entering a 6-week outpatient program to address her binge eating. And like she would spend a few hours a day there and a few days each week. And she came out about having a huge binge eating problem, which she said was triggered by her old job and stress. And binge eating is, again, when you eat a huge amount of food. The Mayo Clinic lists several symptoms of binge eating, which is including eating quickly during binge episodes, eating alone or in secret regularly, and eating until you're uncomfortably full. So, and this is what they said, like, unlike a person with bulimia, after a binge, you don't regularly compensate for extra calories eaten by vomiting, using extra laxatives, or exercising excessively. You may try to diet or eat normal meals, but restricting your diet may simply lead to more binge eating. And that's from the Mayo Clinic. And this is what Remi would say about her own eating habits. When I was working in the music industry and feeling stressed, I would come home and order like $50 worth of food and eat it all. Afterwards, I would cry and be so upset about it. And it just turned into this really scary phase that no one, my family or close friends, could understand. And she said, like, in terms of the 6-week outpatient program, I'll be eating there. I'll be participating in all their different therapies they have. And I just want to be transparent with you that this is something that I can't share while I'm there for confidentially reasons of what is going on. So she's saying, like, she's going to do this program. She can't really talk about the day-to-day until after she graduates. But she wanted to give her followers an update on the progress. And yeah, like, this all goes with her being like an open book about her eating struggles. She says, I've always been a pretty open book. And when I see that people care and want to learn more and connect with me because they have similar issues, that makes me so happy to be able to connect with people that understand. That's why I've continued to talk about it. So she shared that she was going to this thing. Not even a month later, in June 2022, she posted that she was turned away from a horse ranch for being overweight. So her initial TikTok, like, she basically said she did this like influencer trip and in Montauk, and on the influencer trip, they took them to a ranch where they could go horseback riding. And the ranch said like that she couldn't, they basically kicked her out because she weighed over 240 pounds. And she said like they didn't have any signs on their website or on the thing of like saying that, she didn't see any signs. She tried to do her research before. The ranch itself.
Well, I was just also going to say, like, whoever put this influencer trip together, too, should have made sure that everyone that's on the trip can participate in the activities, especially if one of the people you're inviting on is a famous plus size influencer. Like, just make sure that she can do all the stuff.
Yeah, so the ranch, okay, so the ranch itself had 2 websites. One was a blog, and it shares a link to its Facebook page. On the blog, there's a guide of how much weight can carry. So the guide states a rider should not be more than 15% of the horse's weight, which is like, how is
Okay, so
somebody
now I'm
going to
doing
know
math.
on the horse's weight? And then there's also a list of options that said the best horse breeds for plus size riders. On the but on the ranch's site, there's no information on the horses or weight restrictions, just more information on the services offered and the background of the ranch itself. So the website doesn't say like, okay, our horse is this many pounds if you're over 15%. Like, they don't even give you that shit.
Yeah, also 240 pounds isn't like
A
the
lot.
highest amount. Like, if it was like my 600-pound sisters or whatever,
Yeah.
like, it would be different. But I'm like, 240 pounds, I would personally think that there would be a horse on the ranch that could accommodate that. I don't know fucking anything about horses. I'm also not going to do a math problem to now go on and be like, okay, so a horse normally weighs this, I weigh this, 15%. Like, that's just a lot of information for her to have to do ahead of time for a trip that she was invited on, that probably the brand that invited her should have done.
Yeah. So in a follow-up post, Bader said, like, basically this became like a huge feud between the ranch and her. And Bader said, like, she didn't want to hurt a small business. And like, she doesn't even care about like the rules, but she was shocked by the way that one of the ranch employees spoke to her, and she felt compelled to share her experience. She said again, like, some places have weight requirements and I never want to hurt the horses, even though has ridden before, but it was the way she was spoken to and laughed at by the owner and the way that she was treated. Bader said that her negative experience was supported by basically one of the teen ranch employees made a video and said, like, you can ride, when you're not a fat bitch, you can ride at Deep Hollow Ranch. So this teen employee said that, and then Remi Bader stitched it. Yeah, and said, imagine being being Deep Hollow's ranch response to your experience. In a statement, Deep Hollow Ranch had to respond to the TikTok video saying that it in no way represents nor is aligned with the views of the ranch owner. The ranch did not mention the TikTok user or Remi Bader by name. They just made this like apology saying that it was like, that doesn't represent who they are, whatever. And then the Hampton Water Wine Co., which is the brand that organized the weekend of festivities for influencers, said it was outraged by how Bader was treated. They said, we will not work with Deep Hollow Ranch again and do not condone any of the events that followed. And the ranch had received like huge backlash online, including its website and Yelp page, where many commented the responses to Bader's claim. Bader, again, she was very public about her struggles with self-acceptance. And this quote really stood out to me. Like, I will never understand why my size could actually bother someone so much. I really never will. Why could my size? And I don't understand how it ever will. So I don't know. To be this girl who, like, family ingrained really fucked up relationships with food, which I totally get. And then to have this public thing play out a month after you're like, I'm starting inpatient fucking outpatient therapy is like, it's crazy.
And I'm sure what she was subjected to online as a result of this was probably really intense, because I see this playing out all the time on like Twitter and shit. And like, I'm sure she was just getting all these people being like, well, you're just too fat to ride a horse. Like, why don't you blah, blah, blah. And like acting like every time they've ever gone to anywhere that they read the FAQ page of every single place that they ever go to and like, well, you should have known because there's actually a line on the FAQ and blah, like that.
Yeah.
That attitude online drives me fucking crazy when like someone missed a small detail that you wouldn't assume to be the case. And then people are like, it's actually like you can find the information. And I look up every single thing that I ever go to and I read every single FAQ and da da da. And I'm like, you don't. And that shit drives me crazy.
And also, like, the fucking place didn't have anything on their website.
No.
And it's also just like, there's this thing about privilege that, I mean, it's just a thing about privilege where it's just something that you don't think about. And this is something that I didn't really understand. You know, I used to organize, and I still do, like, organize, like, diverse, like, programming for marginalized people to get career development and networking nights or whatever. And I was planning this networking night, and this girl DMs me and she's like, hey, like, just so you know, like, you know, I want to go to your thing so bad, but I'm in a wheelchair and like none of the places you've ever done your programming at is ADA compliant. And like, I'm like, oh shit. Like, and my first instinct was, it was just a really huge learning moment for me of like, my first instinct would be like, well, fuck you. I'm doing all this selfless stuff. Like, and then it took me a minute and I'm like, and it's also like, I assumed because these places were on the first floor that they were ADA compliant, but there's always like a little landing, there's stairs, there's like, it's always elevated and stuff. And then I'm like, oh shit. And it was just something that I didn't even think to check, you know?
Yeah.
And like, that is how, that's my able-bodied privilege, that I can go into any place and know that I'll be able to literally get in the building. I don't have privileges in other ways where it's like, you know, one of my friends, like, we had like our gay friend of color had his like hour and we were all looking for a restaurant after, and like she picked like this like super weird like Irish pub that gave like Republican vibes. And I'm just like, she's not even thinking like that this would be an uncomfortable place for a bunch of people of color to be, you know? And it's just like stuff like that where it's like, and it's the same thing with whoever organized this thing. It's like, oh yeah, like everyone can horseback ride, everyone can think, instead of like them thinking like, oh shit, like not even thinking that that could be a thing. You know, you think like Hampton Water Wine, like, is thinking of, they're just not.
No,
you know?
it's just no one had it at the forefront of their mind. And honestly, the place that's responsible to have that information just like super front and center is the horseback riding place.
Yeah.
Because 240 pounds is not an insane number for, like, if you cannot accommodate someone who's 240 pounds, you should probably have that information very easily available on your website. Even if it's not like, you know, the highlighted front page, it's like, check out our weight restrictions, like something that would alert someone who's booking from you, oh, we should make sure that everyone on this can go. Because I personally would not think that someone who's 240 pounds couldn't ride a horse.
Yeah. And I mean, I get that's the whole thing of privilege, and it's like whatever, but it's also like no one could have anticipated that. But like, again, it's not so much about this horse thing. It's just like, here is someone who kind of went viral for her body. It has been public about her like eating disorders and all this stuff, and then has this like very public thing go on involving her weight. So like a year and a half later, she posted that she wants to stop openly talking about her body and health. So we're going to watch it. This video is a little long, but I swear this is the last video we're going to watch. So
Totally
I know the first, the Hoda package was long and this is long, but like, you just have to hear the whole thing because it's like, you're going to go on a ride. You know?
So I
really try to not look at the really mean things online the best that I can because it really saves my mental health by not looking at it. But there's some things that like come up in my comments that I can't not see. And there's been a ridiculous amount lately of just like the body shaming and saying things I already know. Like, I don't need to hear it again. So, like, saying things like, it's like how much bigger I got and how much weight I've gained and how unhealthy I look and whatever it is. So, I've definitely changed my mind because I really was, felt like it was helpful to other people that I care about or don't know and still care about to help by sharing my health journey and what I'm doing for myself with the world, because I think that that could be helpful with people going through similar struggles. But I decided tonight that I'm no longer going to do that. My health journey will now be my business. What I choose to do, whether that's gain or lose weight, medications I take, supplements I take, my workout routine, whatever it is, I'm not going to share. So, I do the best I can with like, I mean, I want to, and that's who I am. And that's why I'm on social media is share with the world everything going on in my day to day, because I feel like that's just so true to me. But I don't know why it's even allowed online. Shaming someone and the way they look and how every single day is so disgusting. And so it's like, if I'm already taking care of myself and working on the things I need to work on, imagine seeing that every fucking day over and over and over and in a horrible way. You're not, the people that are saying it aren't people that want good for me. You can pretend you want good for me, but it's actually people that just want the worst for me. And it's just fun for them to keep making fun of me and do it publicly. So I've made that decision. I know a lot of you, especially my Q&As and whatever it is, like are always asking about my health journey, want me to share. I share openly what medications I'm on with my anxiety medicine and things that haven't worked for me in the past. Like I've like shared a freaking lot with a lot of people that I don't need to. And I do that because I care, but I'm now going to do what's best for me. And I'm going to keep that to myself. And any questions that anyone has about my health or my weight or my journey, unless you are a close friend of mine and genuinely care about me, you're not going to know that. So I just had to say that before I go to sleep tonight because it's really, it's very, very hard. It's really hard to see this every single day. And like, it's really not fair to just see really mean things. Like, I'm taking care of myself the best I can. And, and I really am asking the people, even if you don't like me or follow me out of a hate follow, to just stop commenting on my body. You can comment about my character or whatever you think of me as a person or I'm annoying or whatever it is. But please just stop commenting on my body because I'm doing everything I can to make myself feel better. And I just need, and I'm just.
I mean, I feel really bad for her. Like, I imagine it is fucking crazy to get commentary about your body on the level that I'm sure she was getting it all the time. I feel bad for her.
Yeah, I feel bad for her. I feel a lot of things. Like, I
Yeah.
definitely feel bad for her. I know what it's like. I get comments like that when my content is not even about my body.
Yeah.
Like, I'll make jokes and stuff about like me being fat or stuff, but like the majority of my content, I don't make content about, making it, about how clothes fit me or something. So like,
Yeah.
and it's still, you're still open, like anything you say, you're opening yourself up to that. So to be initially like opening yourself up to that, like, is your whole brand. Like, I can't imagine. And I'm also just like, the thing that stood out to me with the Good Morning America package is how much value she got from positive comments. And then this is like how much value and how much or destruction she's getting from negative comments. And it's tough because so much of your content is, and the brand that you created yourself is based on vulnerability and transparency and honesty. And that is why you're so popular. But it's also why people don't do that. That's why it's a rare thing.
It's a real double-edged sword to put yourself out there in the way that she's put herself out there, because you will get people who are cheering you on, and Good Morning America will put you on, and people will love you, but people will also hate you. And the level of hate that people online feel comfortable to express towards fat people for any content that they're putting out, and I've seen you have to deal with it, which is crazy, and I've seen it just come into my feed in other ways, again, because Twitter is now like right-wing crazy cesspool, that they'll just take a video of someone and be like, look at this person. Fat shaming random people online is still alive and well, and so people who already do that, I can only imagine the amount of insane vitriol they send towards someone who's making content around trying to exist in a plus size body or trying on clothes or even talking about this at all. I am sure she's getting an insane amount of hate. It is interesting to think about the internal struggle of wanting that validation of having a ton of followers, but also not having the internal fortitude, which isn't a dig on her, because I don't think that I have the internal fortitude to accept that type of hate and response. I think you have to put up a lot of fucking armor if you're gonna do that. I feel like Drew Afualo talks about it a lot.
Yeah.
Where it's you have to really put up a wall between yourself and those comments if you are going to exist online as a woman, literally at all, but as a woman in a different body than what is considered attractive, you have to be really confident in yourself internally to do that and take that on.
It's also just a go touch grass moment. For me, it's just get offline.
Yeah.
These comments, it is cruel. It is whatever. But I'm just that's when you don't record and you just talk to your friend. You're like, can you believe this is crazy? And can you believe this? Or you go do something else in the world. You're not hyper focused. I don't know. And then I'm also just that's the thing, is that if you want your virality in this kind of way, and if you want this career around this brand, that is the thing. And if you don't, then do something different. But I guess that's my thing of the thing that makes it enticing and cool and interesting for people is the same thing that's going to bring out hate.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's a solution to that. There's just not. Saying you're not going to talk about your body or your health issues anymore, I don't think that makes a difference, because people who are going to comment that you're fat and ugly, they don't care if you're talking about, they're literally commenting it on a video where I'm talking about whatever. They say that shit. It doesn't matter. I mean, I think that you bring a lot more attention to yourself, whatever, but that's just not going to stop and go away. And I just think about this. There's this Buddhist proverb that really sticks to me. Worthy persons are so when they are unmoved by the 8 winds, and the 8 winds are censure, whatever. If you're swayed by good shit and bad, you need to be so solid that good things don't move you and bad things don't move you, and you're a mountain against all the winds, because if you're blowing with the wind, you're not grounded and you're not a person, and you're going to be taken up and finding all this validation outside of yourself, and not which is it's hard as hell.
It's hard, and it's dangerous for your mental health if you are someone who has had really serious mental health struggles around your weight and how it's perceived. Again, you were saying she was basically shamed by her family from a young age. If you haven't gotten that part of your house in order, then to wade into being the face of online body positivity, that's a really, really, really difficult position to put yourself in. And that's not I don't mean that in a victim blamey way. I wish the world wasn't like that. I wish she could do whatever the fuck she wants, etc. But it is something that anyone who is pursuing a public facing, especially online related career, which, you and I have to negotiate all the time, you do have to get into a place where you have some kind of internal strength against getting a really nasty comment or a lot of really nasty comments, because the bigger you get, the more you're going to get people who say really out of pocket stuff about you. And that is why the journey of an influencer is one that it's a tough road to walk, is what I'll say.
It's a tough road to walk, especially when, which is what we say, your content is about your life. And you've made it the center of your life. So that was in September 2023. So what's happening now? Starting in December 2023, which is what we'll cover and stuff, she starts losing a lot of weight. People start to notice, and she starts blocking people. Anyone who brings it up, anyone who asks a question, anyone who says anything about her weight, she blocks them. Since December 2023. She continues to noticeably lose a lot of weight, and doesn't say anything about it until 2 weeks ago when she shows up on Khloe Kardashian's podcast. She shows up on Khloe Kardashian's podcast, and there's a feature written about her on Self magazine. She shares a carousel of all her pictures from Self magazine, and this is what the caption says. Sharing something so personal again for the first time in a while, I was prepared for both backlash and support in terms of the decisions I had made related to my health. But at the end of the day, no one is changing how proud I am for myself for protecting my mental health and sticking to my boundaries at a time I was so low and so lost. I will never regret that. Although I think watching the full hour podcast is a lot to ask, I really think I shared every detail I could to express what I was going through and the decisions I made. And I want to thank Khloe Kardashian for allowing me to do that. If you're not a podcast person, I felt it was important to have all this in writing as well. It took me a long time to find a writer and a publication that I trusted enough to share my story with the right way. And I can't express my gratitude for @Self Magazine and @The Samhita for taking the time to write this for me. I wanted to flag that if you are someone who could be easily triggered by eating disorders, weight loss, and suicidal ideation, maybe this article isn't for you, but this story goes more in depth on the details of my health and everything I tried to and have been through to get to the point where I made the decision I did. Full article linked in bio, photographer @Sophia, and then it just tags everybody.
Yeah. The tags.
The tags. So here are excerpts from the actual article. Over the next 2 years, desperate to get help for her binge eating, Bader had tried a variety of treatments, some of which she shared with her followers and some of which she didn't. She saw a therapist, met with a psychiatrist who specializes in disordered eating, tried both Contrave, an oral weight loss medication, and Wellbutrin, an antidepressant, and went to a few Overeaters Anonymous meetings. In May 2022, she attended a 6-week outpatient eating disorder program that focused on intuitive eating and employed the health at every size model. After leaving the program, her binges returned, quote, almost immediately. In September, she gave Mounjaro a try very secretly. Quote, this is the worst thing I could be doing, she thought at the time. I just talked about how I went to treatment. No one could ever know about this. So she was hiding in secret that she was on Mounjaro. Again, she was throwing up daily. So by January, her doctor had switched her to Ozempic and added metformin, and the vomiting persisted anyway. And Bader decided to go off the medication for good. In a last resort, in June 2023, she tried Vyvanse as prescribed by her doctor, but that didn't work either. Instead, he suggested a newer procedure called single anastomosis duodenal bypass with a sleeve gastrectomy. Parentheses.
You did what you could there. You're not in the pit.
I could. I'm not in the pit. It's called SADIS. And SADIS includes the sleeve gastrectomy, followed by a procedure that closes off a section of the small intestine and connects the stomach to the lower intestine, giving the body, quote, less time and distance to absorb fat and calories, according to the Mayo Clinic. The description of the new procedure gave her pause. I don't know if I should be doing something I've never heard of, she thought at the time, but she had already decided to move ahead with it. Dr. Christine Redfielding, surgeon at the Division of Bariatric Surgery at NYU Health, says that patients who decide to have bariatric surgery usually come to it as a last resort. Quote, nobody wants to have surgery, she says. Patients usually come to me when they've tried every option to lose weight: diet, exercise, inpatient weight managing centers like Duke. They've been on low-calorie diets, Atkins, keto, I mean everything. They've either lost a ton of weight but weren't able to maintain it, or they did not lose enough weight because it was too difficult to stay on the plan for a prolonged time. Bader was excited but anxious. She finally shared the decision with her boyfriend, saying, I just want to let you know I'm getting the surgery. And when she told her parents, she says, I felt their joy from the other end of the phone, which bothered me, but they said, do whatever is best for you. She decided to tell a few more people in her inner circle, but she knew she was making the decision for herself. So something that also was interesting was that, again, she was open about she was really struggling with her binge eating. She tried all this shit. It didn't work. But also she was really transparent about the recovery. So basically she said she was in recovery for hours and hours. She was throwing up a lot. It wasn't normal. She was supposed to leave the hospital in one day, but she couldn't stop vomiting and she couldn't even drink water. They won't even let you drink. Like, she couldn't leave the hospital. If you can't drink water, you're not allowed to leave the hospital. And she couldn't.
Yeah, probably good.
Yeah, so she was there for 3 days instead of 1, and then she was discharged, and she went to stay with her parents to recover. They didn't know what to do. They saw how sick I was, and no one knew what to do. This went on for 6 weeks. She couldn't eat or drink, and the vomiting continued. She was an outlier, again, because she said she saw people, like, she did the research on TikTok, and she saw that, like, nobody was sharing their negative experiences with bariatric surgery on TikTok. The expert says that, she did have above average recovery time. And then from the surgery, so basically from December to mid-February, Bader says that she was not fucking okay. She posted less, told her followers she was going through a hard time, but the reality was, like, a lot grimmer. She had gotten into a very deep depression, and it was the scariest time of her life. And that's when she felt like she really wanted to die,
And this was after the surgery?
This was after the surgery.
Okay.
So, like, I think that her, suicidal ideation, because she was feeling so bad about herself, all that shit was after the surgery. Her psychiatrist raised her dose of Cymbalta, an SNRI, and put her back on Wellbutrin. She said both helped. After 2 months of intensive recovery, she finally could get out of bed and have a meal and actually maybe even a drink. She celebrated Valentine's Day with her boyfriend, and then to her surprise, a week later, the relationship ended. Then she said, with her surgery, you can't eat and drink within the same 30 minutes. If so, the body rebels. So she would
I'm sorry. So for the rest of her life, she can't eat and drink within 30 minutes? You can't have a drink with your meal? Forever?
Girl.
Or your body rebels?
Girl. She says, sometimes I'm out to dinner with friends and I run to the bathroom. It's also hard. I'm going to these events and dinners and I'm constantly getting sick. On her most recent trip to Paris, she had an episode where she felt like the food was stuck in her chest and stomach. Quote, it's also making me nauseous at the time. So it's like, okay, am I about to throw up or should I sit and make myself deal with this and maybe walk around? She's dealt with other side effects too. She said she had an intense amount of hair loss with chunks coming out of her hair daily for a good 6 months. The biggest shock to her system, however, has been the speed and the amount of weight she's lost. She said, I never thought it would be this quick. I never wanted to be this size. I'm probably the only person that's gone to a doctor for weight loss and said, okay, but I can still be curvy. She says it was really confusing to be so quickly in a different body, but have the exact same brain. So, the article goes on and says bodies are complicated and so is taking care of them. It just goes to like, she's having these conflicting, like, deep brain fucking things with this
Yeah.
huge change. And she says, am I happy overall right now? Happier than when I was dealing with the health issues and the back pain and all those things? She says, yes, I have more energy. All my health stuff went back to normal after years and years and years. I have zero knee pain. I have less back pain. I have normal periods. Again, this is what the article says, but weight loss isn't a magic bullet. It doesn't make all our problems go away. In fact, this includes physical health issues too. Studies show that losing weight doesn't necessarily correlate with lower mortality rates among people who are classified as having overweight or obesity per BMI. Bader feels this deeply. I was lost with my identity before, she says. I wasn't big enough at first and plus size enough at first for the plus size community. Then I became too big for some brands to even work with. So I guess she started out as 14, 16, then she gained weight, and then brands stopped fucking with her, right? Then she says, now I'm too small. I actually don't know where I'm supposed to be. No matter where she lands, how her body continues to ebbs and flows, as all bodies do. Bader insists she will be an advocate for plus-size inclusion. She recently launched a collection with Sam's Club and made sure that it went up to a 6X. I still believe in that, she says, though she finds she gets some resistance. That is what she talked about in the Khloe Kardashian thing and the excerpts of the Self magazine. Again, it's not just like her talking about the weight loss surgery, but also like all her health problems before and her health problems after. So what say you,
It's
Alise?
really sad.
Yeah.
It really it really bums me out just to think about putting your body through all of that to lose weight. Again, I don't know what health problems what her back pain, knee pain, all of this stuff was like how debilitating that was for her. But it is shocking to me to be in a place where it's like it's better to not be able to eat and drink at the same time than it is to be fat or
Yeah.
I think it just goes back to kind of what we were saying is that I really feel like she has been really, really affected by a constant stream of commentary about her body from a really, really, really young age, it seems. And that only got louder and more intense when she decided to start sharing online. And now she made a decision that, again, is her decision. It's like what Katie and I were talking about in the Free Feed episode last week. Like, I'm not going to tell people what to do with their body, what surgery to get, how to exist, what you decide is better. But, like, on a macro scale, it is very sad to me that someone would rather put themselves through an intense surgery that changes how big your stomach is, that goes in and like snips up your insides in this way that you're not supposed to be. Like, human beings are the product of millions of years of evolution and all of this stuff to decide like how your fucking stomach should work and shit. And it just, I don't know, it speaks to a larger societal thing that it's really sad to me that someone would say, like, I would rather go through all this than continue to be fat and deal with the commentary that I get from being fat.
Yeah, I that is something that's so interesting to me. And that has like, I used to get my hair done at the salon, and this girl, the daughter of one of the salon owners, was like obese. She was like, probably like a little bit bigger than me, maybe my size. And she did get like the gastric sleeve. And I'm seeing her and she lost weight, but she was so weak. And I see her like, she makes cup noodles and she sips on the water. She's like, yeah, I can only sip on the water. I can only drink like I can't drink like I can't eat solids for the next like 2 or 3 months. I'm just drinking all this stuff, blah blah blah. And like she's just like so weak and sipping on this shit. But then she's like, I'm gonna give you my doctor's number and like, this and that. And I'm just like, no, I'll just stay fat. Like I'm just like
Food is a joy
I'll
of
just stay
life.
fat.
I'm like, sorry.
I want to like go out and drink wine with my friends and eat dinner and like, yeah, I'll just stay.
I know. I mean, that's what we're talking about with all these crazy like night and morning routines and doing all this shit. It's like, yeah, I guess you can sacrifice so much to make yourself look perfect and to get this specific type of validation, but I want to go out. I want to live my life. I want to have a drink. I want to eat a really good meal and then have a drink with that meal. I want to like if I'm having cup noodle, I want to have the whole cup noodle.
The noodles,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, I want the noodles. Like I don't know. It's like sapping so much of the joy of life out of it to make sure that you stay thin and don't have a wrinkle. So it's like, oh, well, I don't laugh because laughing gives you wrinkles. Like, I can't live like that. I can't live like that.
I was just seeing too, like this girl's like, I trained myself to sleep on my back so I don't get wrinkles because sleeping on your side gets wrinkles. And now I have sleep apnea. And it's just like, yeah, but then I'm thinking like, as someone who worked with sleep apnea, it's like most people have sleep apnea. It's like our evolution has caused like our airwaves to not be like big enough. But anyway, this whole thing just makes me so sad. And I think it's the core wound of like, I mean, my parents, I'm not going to say that my parents, I think every fat kid, like your parents, your family is just always, you're going to hear shit all the time. I will say that, maybe it was lack of money or something, but like, I'm at least thankful that I wasn't sent to fat camp because that seems to really, doing that, I feel like really fucks you up for the rest of your life. And like, whatever. So, just like, so this is what she came out with. And just to like close it off, like to wrap this up, like, again, she's clearly getting a lot of criticism, and the criticisms are, that she responded poorly to fan concerns, that she didn't need to be blocking and all this stuff, that she's no longer relatable, which is like, whatever, that she betrayed her following. Other people are like, yeah, like she's lacking transparency, and that to discuss this on Khloe Kardashian's podcast, is like kind of waiting until you could monetize your information.
Well, it's certainly a choice to come out with this on a Kardashian-related entity.
Especially Khloe, because Khloe was the one that was always a little chubbier. And
that I was thinking of Khloe when you were talking about the way that families impose their standards on the kids and like how they want a certain image for a family. Like, you can see the damage that it did to Khloe Kardashian, that she was bigger than her sisters and what that caused in her. And like, I think a lot of the darkness that we've seen play out in Khloe Kardashian's life all comes down to her being the quote unquote ugly fat one.
Yeah.
When the show first started, I think that did incredible damage to her as a person. So it is interesting to do this on Khloe's podcast. I think it is naive for Remi Bader to think that she can just make this announcement and be like, I'm actually not going to talk about my weight anymore, and then start losing an extremely noticeable amount of weight and try to just point back. I imagine her thought was like, I said in this other video I wasn't going to talk about it, so now I'm blocking whoever, da-da-da. And it's like, you can do that, but at the end of the day, people are going to notice that you're losing a lot of weight. People are going to wonder about it. People are going to ask who didn't see that video, who did and don't care. And also, yeah, it's just not realistic to think that you can get to fame in a way that is specifically related to your body and being transparent around it, and then just cut that off and have everyone just immediately respect that and have nothing to say about it and blah, blah, blah. And I feel like, I mean, I think that, again, she was struggling with receiving internet commentary of any kind, which is tough because it's like you're trying to be an influencer. But I feel like she had the right model with when she went to like the binge eating
Yeah, like say
recovery.
like, yeah.
I'm doing this. I'm not really, I've made this decision for myself and my doctors. You're going to notice changes in me. I don't really want to talk about it more than that, but like this is what's going on. And hopefully you guys can wish me well. To think that she could just lose all of this weight and go months and months and months and months and then not talk about it until she's on Khloe Kardashian's podcast, I think was naive of her and probably caused her more problems than if she had just said straight up, I'm going to do this. I know people will have feelings about it. This is what I've decided is right for me.
So just to like bring it around town, the whole reason I wanted to share that package in the beginning is because, yes, like even though she said my decision to have surgery was like caused by, again, binge eating disorder, chronic pain, chronic back, and depression, she also says like over and over, like, I never intended to be an advocate for weight loss or for like body stuff, and that her journey was deeply personal. And, I understand that feeling of some kind of betrayal. Like, I don't think, and it's just a complicated feeling as a fat person. It is an intensely complicated feeling because it's this thing where it's like everybody should do whatever they want, but it's also like you did make your whole fucking angle that you are this person, or like that you have this struggle, like you can't fit in clothes, like whatever. And you made nothing else, you didn't do anything else with that. And then now you want to be like, well, it's none of your business. That's fucked up. So in response to the criticism, Bader has shared candid posts, and now her posts are about her physical and emotional struggles post-surgery, because it seems like it's a lot, and including like, dealing with her loose skin and scars that she has. And, she says now she has an expressed desire to be honest about her experience without promoting weight loss as a universal solution. Francesca Ramsey had a really good piece about, even people who defend her, like, right. And I don't even know if I don't know if the conversation from fat people or from her critics is like, she should have never gotten the surgery, instead of like, it's hypocritical to put yourself as the face of something and then to do it in this secret way, or like, you didn't really care about this movie. You didn't really care about body positivity. Did you really care about this shit that you went through about like being discriminated against for being fat? Did you actually care about it? Or did you want to make things better for other people? Or was it just about yourself? You didn't really care about these things. Like, I think what a lot of people, which Francesca Ramsey said, was just like, she, again, like that Remi Bader's crucial mistake was the, again, lack of transparency and max blocking. And then like, again, the crucial mistake also was completely abandoning the core tenets of her brand, right? So Francesca says like, every creator has three things that, for example, three adjectives that they want to embody, right? So that your whole brand should be three things, right? So for example, Remi Bader's thing, and that you should always try to at least do two things. So Remi Bader's band was being honest, being plus size, and being relatable. And it's like an argument to be made that this whole thing has gotten rid of two of the three things, being honest, being plus.
And maybe all three, because
and all three.
How can you, it's hard to be relatable to someone who's not telling you what's going on with them. It seems like now she's going back to like the transparency and relatability, but I imagine during that period of time where she was just losing weight and not saying anything about it, like it's hard to relate to someone where you're like, I don't even know what's going on with this person.
And it's hard too because I'm also like, girl, if what you're doing is causing such severe mental strife, do something else. You don't have to be an influencer. You don't
Yeah.
have to do this. You can choose another career that's gonna be less mentally damaging for you and do
People
all your
have
weight
done
loss.
that.
And the thing is, but she kind of wants both. She
Yeah.
wants to still have fame. She wants to still be relatable. She wants nothing to change, but she doesn't want any of the toxic mental health things. She doesn't want any of these opinions. And it's like, yeah, it's a naive. It's not living in reality. I think that she might satisfy some people by being like more open and stuff, but I just don't think ultimately this is the career for her because it's going to be like this for the rest of your life. It's
Yeah,
going to be like this.
I agree in that the story, like her story made me sad. I feel badly for this woman because I do think, again, I think that she has been extremely negatively affected by commentary about her body all of her life. And there's something almost darkly relatable about the fact that she then chose to like seek that out almost in this way of like validation around her body. She's needed it so deeply that she tried to find it by being a plus size influencer, and she just couldn't ever really get what she wanted from that, and that was so damaging to her. And now she still wants it, but in a different way. I mean, I feel like what she really wanted was to be like a skinny girl influencer.
Yeah. And she's
But
getting that. And that's what people are saying. Like, she never wanted to be plus size. She never cared about any of this stuff, you know?
yeah, but for her to try to say, I never wanted any of that, that conversation was just thrust upon me, that's not true because her content was very specifically about that. Yeah, so I do feel bad for her because, again, I just think that if this is the career path that you're going to go on where you're sharing your life, you're talking about your body, good, bad, mental health, all of this stuff, you do have to, before you engage in that, get yourself to a place where you are good internally. Like you said, like you're a mountain internally, and some of this stuff, obviously people are going to be bothered no matter what. A mean comment bothers me no matter what, but like you have to get to a place where inside you're a little bit unflappable. And again, I look at like what Drew Afualo talks about, the way that she deals with that type of commentary. Caleb Heron gets that fucking commentary all the time.
Yeah.
Like, you have to get to a place where you're good with yourself to receive that kind of hate before you embark on this career path. Do I wish it was a different world where that wasn't going to happen and that the internet was nice and that you could exist on the internet in any body, any gender expression, any face, any person could exist online without having to wade through a storm of shit? Of course I wish that that was the world we were in. But
that's not.
And
And it's never been. And we talk about this on Search History, that the Numa guy, that's a Star Wars kid.
yeah.
Like, it's just, that's what it is.
Fat shaming has been a backbone of the internet for a really fucking long time. And I hate that and it sucks. But that is a really, really dark side of being a person online. And I do feel like just hearing her story play out, I'm like, damn, this is someone who like waded into this world and it really harmed her. And now she's gotten a very drastic surgery, which again is her right to get. But there's a darkness there.
There's this plus size creator, Samira. I think she's a Black plus size creator. And what she does is she goes to she made like a song about it too. Like, she goes to places that sell plus size clothing. And it's again highlighting that like a lot of places that sell plus size clothing, they don't do it in stores, or that the clothes are ugly as fuck. It's similar because it just shows that the plus size clothing, the problem of the company, and not like, you guys don't know how to make clothes. You guys lie. You guys this. You guys are deceiving. Instead of like, my body, my body, my body. And I feel like that's kind of the perspective that Remi Bader is missing. So I went in this whole thing trying to be like, oh, this girl made this following and then she secretly got this thing. But then to see that she's been publicly like talking about her eating disorder and all this stuff. And it's just like, it goes back to her fucking family and like
Yeah.
it's all interconnected and all that. And like to say that like how happy her parents were when she said she was
Yeah,
going to get
that
the
line
surgery.
is like, oh,
And-
ooh.
And I totally feel that, you know, like I was trying to connect with my dad one time when I first got Tino and I was really overwhelmed and I didn't know like what to do with him. And I was like, yeah, should I get a dog walker or should I not? And I was talking about like in terms of my schedule, not any. And my dad's like, you need to be walking your dog by yourself. It's exercise. And it's just like, fuck you, man. But, you know, then to be like, they're the ones that were caretaking her and were freaked out by how fucked up she was. It was just a lot more complicated and it's ultimately really sad. And it's also just like, girl, touch grass. Get a marketing job, whatever. You're not going to be this rich. You're not going to be whatever, but move on. Like, this is not good for you.
There was that gal, Alise Myers, who was like a huge TikToker and took a really long break. I think maybe even continues to be on a break from TikTok because she was just like, I can't handle all this shit. People have done that. I was just listening to, I think it was on Who Weekly. They were talking about how the kid who played Dewey in Malcolm in the Middle is like, I don't have any interest in doing the reboot. I'm not an actor. I like study poetry. I'm not interested. People do go into these career paths and then say, you know what? I actually am not able to take on. Every job has a dark side, and sometimes you get into it and you're like, the dark side of this is just too damaging for me. And I feel like watching what we watched with her, I think that the dark side of the influencing industry was too much for her.
But she's still doing it, and that's the sad part. And it's just like,
Yeah.
I just want her to like not do it anymore. And I think about her boyfriend, and I don't know what happened with her boyfriend. I think there might have been some cheating and stuff. I just see this fantasy of her like, I don't know. Now I'm projecting, but it's like, yeah, she probably thought her boyfriend might have wanted to love her more because she was thin. And the reality was like, she was fucking throwing up all the time and she can't like go out to eat and she can't do anything. Like, that's fucking tough. And I'm sure your boyfriend would have preferred if you were just be fat. It's fine. Like, I don't know.
I know. It's just, is it really that much better to exist thin, but you can't do anything and you're fucking sick and you feel like food is stuck in your chest because they shortened all your shit to make it so that there's not enough space for you to absorb the food. It's just tough. It's tough to hear that. Yeah.
It's a tough world, and it's tough that like everyone else's shit fucks you up inside where you feel like you can't do XYZ because whatever.
Yeah.
So this is just really sad, but I really do like, you know, I hope that she just logs off or whatever, finds something.
Or finds peace, like gets to that place within herself. Because again, it almost reminds me of like what we were saying with live action Snow White, where it's like when you're just pleasing everybody, you're not going to please anybody. And it just seems like, yeah, she's running in circles trying to find the perfect way to be an influencer online that's not going to bring any hate to her. And it's like, this is just a job where that doesn't exist. And if that is too painful for you, I totally get it. And I bet you actually could get a really good marketing job or become the social media manager for like a huge brand that does like plus size clothing or whatever and go behind the scenes and do what you are good at and help someone create that, but not have to put yourself out there in this way that seems like it is harming her.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No matter what the weight change is, the core tenets of her brand is her body. And I feel like that needs to change where it's like, yeah, you need to not be the center. Your body and your weight and your mental health need to not be the center of your content because it is not good for you. And I think, I don't know about Drew, but with Caleb is somebody who he gets a lot of hate comments, but his social media is a vehicle for him to do what he wants to do, which is sell out theaters, make movies, star in movies, do this stuff where it's like Remi Bader's mocking and stuff is like, what is it for? Like to get invited to runways and all this stuff. Like you really don't need it. So anyway, I think I might call this Remi Bader is Snow White, the Snow White movie.
The Remi Invader is the Snow White of the plus
Influencing.
industry. Does that bring us to the end?
That brings us to the end. I mean, that's
Wow.
it. I think this was a lot.
This was a lot. I'm glad that I feel like this did need to be the space of the Patreon. Guys, get your tickets to the tea party. We're locking in our goodie bag today. It's going to be real cute, real classy. We've got tickets left. Send me stuff. Remember to include your dietary restrictions. We've got great guests coming up for the rest of the month. And until next time,
go touch
touch
grass.
That was a HeadGum podcast.
Hey, I'm Tony Hale.
I'm Matt Oberg.
And I'm Kristen Shaw.
And we're going to be hosting the new podcast, The Extraordinarians, where we are going to be interviewing extraordinary people doing extraordinary things that we have never and probably will never do.
We talk to people who have broken records on slackline suspended by hot air balloons.
Yep.
We're talking to people who have done multiple flips on trampolines. You'll have to tune in to find out how many flips they did.
Subscribe to Extraordinarians on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, or wherever you get your podcasts, and watch videos.
God. In 3,
watch it on the YouTube. There's new episodes that we release it every Wednesday.
We do.
I've never seen you cry before.
I know.
I don't know how
this
I
is
feel
upsetting
about it.
for all of us.
They don't let us break for lunch.
They do.
The podcast is so competitive, they make you just talk and talk.
Guys, we're watching a spin out.
Please subscribe.
Oh, man.
Extraordinarians.
Hey, I'm Jake Johnson, and I host the HeadGum podcast, We're Here to Help, with my partner, Gareth Reynolds. We're Here to Help is a call-in advice show. Think Car Talk from back in the day. We're determined to help fix life's dumbest problems. We also have guest helpers join us from the entire cast of New Girl to Michael Cera, Andy Samberg, Jimmy Kimmel, just to name a few. So do me a favor and come check out an episode and then bounce around our catalog. We're over 150 episodes so far, so there's plenty of stories for you to discover. Subscribe to We're Here to Help on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, or wherever you get your podcasts. New episodes drop every Monday, and bonus episodes drop on Wednesdays.